Dilution is simply when you add water to a solution, which in turn lowers the concentration. You are taking a concentrated solution and making it more dilute. Welcome back to the channel where our goal at Tadashi Science is to make science simple. Make sure to subscribe so we can continue to help you on your science journey. When we look at solving dilution problems, there is an easy formula we can use. That formula is M1V1 equals M2V2. The M stands for molarity while the V stands for volume. The 1s stand for initial conditions, which is what you start with, while the 2s represent the final conditions, which is what you end with. So when we look at this formula, it tells us that the molarity times the volume of what we start with is equal to the molarity times the volume of what we end with. You can also think of the 1s as representing the variables for the concentrated solution, while the 2s represent the variables for the diluted solution. So the molarity times the volume of the concentrated solution is equal to the molarity times the volume of the diluted solution. When solving this formula, it does not matter what the units are for volume as long as they are the same for both V1 and V2. So the volume can be in liters, milliliters, or any other volume unit. Just make sure that V1 and V2 both have the same units. There is no need to convert the volume to liters like we would if we were doing a simple molarity calculation. Now that you know the dilution formula, let's look at some practice problems. Our first question says, if you dilute 0.175 liters of a 1.6 molar solution of LiCl to 1 liter, determine the new concentration of the solution. So when we start looking at these problems, the most important thing is to identify the variables that you're given in the problem. As I read through the problem, I can then plug those in. So when I look at 0.175, that's 0.175 liters. I know liters is a unit for volume, so that will represent V1. I then see 1.6 molarity. That's going to be the concentration, or M1. If you continue reading on, you're going to dilute the solution to a final volume of 1 liter. That would make V2 1 liter. Now that we have the variables identified, we can see that we are solving for M2. Once we have this, we can just take our formula M1V1 equals M2V2 and plug our numbers in. And when I do that, I'm going to do 1.6 times 0.75 and then divide that by 1 to solve for M2. And when I do that, I get a concentration of 0.28. Now that we have worked one problem together, pause the video now and see if you can answer this question on your own. So our next question says, you need to make 10 liters of 1.2 molar KNO3, or potassium nitrate. What molarity would the potassium nitrate solution need to be if you were to use only 2.5 liters of it? So as I'm reading the problem, I know I need to make 10 liters of a solution that has a concentration of 1.2. If that is the solution I'm making, that should be the solution we are ending with. So we see 10 liters and 1.2 molarity, that's going to be M2 and V2. And again, this is because that's what we want to end with. What are we going to start with though? Well, as we read on in the question, we're going to start with 2.5 liters of the solution. So what would the molarity need to be that we start with in order to get our final solution? So I can take my numbers and plug them into our formula. I can plug in 2.5 for V1, 1.2 for M2, and 10 for V2. And to solve this, we will do 1.2 times 10 and then divide that by 2.5. That gives us a concentration of 4.8. Our final problem says, if I add 25 milliliters of water to 125 milliliters of a 0.15 molar NaOH solution, what will the molarity of the diluted solution be? Now, this problem is a little trickier because it says we're going to add 25 milliliters of water to a solution that we already have. This is going to affect V2. So when I read the problem, I know I'm going to start with 125 milliliters, and I'm going to add 25 milliliters of water to that. So we have to add those two numbers together so that we know we are going to end with a final volume of 150 milliliters. So V2 is going to be 150. I'm starting with 125 milliliters, so I'm going to put that for V1. and the solution has a starting concentration of 0.15. So M1 will be 0.15. Now that we know our variables, we can see that we're solving for M2. So we plug our numbers into our formula. I'll plug in 0.15 for M1, 125 for V1, and 150 for V2. To solve this, we will just multiply 0.15 times 125 and divide that by 150. That would give us a final concentration of 0.125. Now you know what dilution is and how to solve the dilution formula. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so we can continue to help you on your science journey. If you enjoyed this video, here's another video you will find helpful.